What is your full name?
Audrey Stone.
And where are you from?
I am from Rochester, Michigan. That's where I grew up, and I now live in Berkeley.
And how old were you in 2009?
I was 39 or 40, I guess.
Yeah, about
Yeah,
that.
I'd
Okay.
be 40.
So, what do you recall about your financial life before the Great Recession? Like finding or keeping a job, finding or buying a home?
So I would say back in 2009, we were
Before
living
2007.
before 2007. Oh, all right. Before 2007, we were living here in Berkeley in our first house. I had been with McDonald's for 7 years by then. And your dad, was working his job. So, I mean, I think everything for us was pretty stable before 2007.
Um, yeah, were you overly worried about the health of the economy at that time?
I think we were all worried, right? I mean, the news was talking about it, and, there were a lot of things that were happening. But I would say I felt that it was primarily happening to people that were older than me,
Hmm.
right? Because we weren't ready to retire. We were still, clearly of working age.
Yeah. Had you experienced economic hardships prior to 2007?
No, not really.
Okay. Um, how did you discover that our nation was facing a severe economic situation? Like, how were you informed of this?
I would say really mostly through the news, and obviously people talking about it at work, and especially talking with like grandma and grandpa, and people again who were closer to retirement, where this was really something that could potentially impact them.
And what were you feeling at that point? What was your first impression on that?
I don't know. I guess it made you a little nervous. You wondered like when it was going to come back, right? I mean, especially when they started talking about the housing market and what was happening at that point. That was right before. When did we move into this house? We moved into this house in 2010. So there was a lot of, discussion about, would you ever be able to sell your house, and did you have any equity in it? And I think that made us pretty concerned.
Um, did you personally experience ever hardships during this economic situation? Like, did you loss of job or finding work? Did you lose our home? Loss of savings or retirement funds? Reduction of income of work hours?
So I would say that we probably lost a little bit in our retirement during that time, right? Because the stock market plummeted, and there was a lot of loss from that perspective. I will tell you that, interestingly enough, what happened with McDonald's is that our business actually got better, right? So our sales got better, which for me actually helped from an income perspective. So I think I was in somewhat of a unique situation.
So it benefited you in
It did
most
actually
ways.
in the long run from a work perspective, yes.
What economic decisions did you and Dad have to make to response to these severe economic situations, or helping out with Grandma and Grandpa? Did you have to
No, we didn't have to help out with grandma and grandpa. I think for us it was just making smart decisions, right? And making sure that we were planning for a future that really was unsure at that point in time, and making sure that we weren't overspending, and that we felt that we could provide you guys with, what we thought you needed.
did Grandma and Grandpa lose a lot of money at that point?
Yeah, yeah, they did.
Okay. And what did you think of President Barack Obama's and the Congress's reaction to the Great Recession?
I have to be honest, I'm not really sure that I had a strong point of view on it, again, because I wasn't necessarily significantly
Impacted,
impacted,
yeah.
right? I mean, when we tried to sell the house, I think that was one part where we felt fairly impacted, I guess, like everybody did, right? When you couldn't really sell your house for a lot. But then on the flip side, it also afforded you the opportunity to maybe buy a bigger house, right? For less money than it would have been 5, 6 years before.
Do you think recessions or depressions can be prevented?
I do. I mean, I think that over time they will probably happen again. But I do think that the government's responsibility from a fiduciary perspective is to really ensure that we don't get to something like that, right? There needs to be checks and balances, and you know, hopefully to not have it happen. I mean, I guess if you think about it, right, we had the first depression in the 20s, and we didn't necessarily have one until just, you know, a few years ago. So yeah, I do think they're preventable.
And what would you want students to know about like economic crisis? What would you want me to know?
I think more so than economic crisis, I think it's important for you guys to just understand the economics of living a life, right? And how you should spend your money, and I think the importance of saving, and really for a rainy day, I think we used to say, but it's important to save and be diversified, right, in your investments, so that it's not all in one place. So if something does happen, that you have some cushion around yourself from a savings perspective. But start saving early. I guess that's what I would want all of kids your age to do.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome.